Oh, hi, Eric Boehlert. I was just doing some light reading. How are you?
Hey, good, and you?
I'm all right. Eric, I love how you get right to the point of the matter in a couple of your tweets. You said the fact that Trump is a sociopath should be a starting point for all daily coverage. You also said Trump is a mentally unstable madman. Why won't day-to-day news coverage constantly acknowledge that? I think you're right. Is the thing that drives me the craziest, beyond the treason, beyond everything else, is just the normalizing of this person that is clearly not sane, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you just look at his meltdown yesterday, I mean, he's had about 45 of them like that. Inciting violence against journalists, just going off on all kinds of tangents and all kinds of directions. Basically admitting to, colluding with a foreign government at the height of the campaign, admitting he made up this lie about it's all crazy.
Yeah.
And I pick up today's New York Times, and I click on, today's edition, and there's one story about Trump today, and it says he changed his story about the Trump Tower meeting, and it turns out he wasn't being forthright. So not only won't the New York Times call him a liar, and this is important, this is one of the most obvious, premeditated lies that Trump has told, right? The New York Times editor has said, well, we can't call him a liar because it makes it less special. And if we keep calling him a liar, it takes away the power. Like they're holding it for some special occasion, break glass when in case of emergency. And B, we don't know what's in his head. Maybe he's just, maybe he just doesn't understand what's going on. But with this Trump Tower, this is the perfect example of a premeditated lie.
Yeah.
A year ago, he helped write this cover story about this ridiculous adoption meeting, and yesterday he comes out scrambling to keep his son from legal jeopardy, saying, well, of course we had the meeting to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. That is an obvious lie. The New York Times still won't say it, but to your larger point, the coverage today, you would think a mild shift in the Trump narrative on this controversy and nothing else to see yesterday.
Yeah. Well, you said also New York Times reporter concedes no one ever believed the Trump's adoption cover story, but go back and check New York Times coverage from real time last year. The paper absolutely treated that BS line as legit. I mean, it just, like you say, the constant moving of goalposts is just blinding, but the press is not doing a great job keeping up with it, are they?
And you mentioned, Malcolm Nance's point about apathy, and it's so important and it's so frightening. And what is driving part of this apathy is the press coverage, and it's the normalization. And again, if you picked up or looked at today's New York Times, you would think, oh, Trump, made a minor change to his cover story on the adoption. You wouldn't know that he had a public breakdown, and he seems completely unstable, completely deranged, and he's been that way for 18 months. And so that drives the apathy. Look, if the everyday coverage on CNN, on everywhere, is there is a sociopath in the White House, and he's out of control, and he's going to wreck the U.S. economy, and he might get us killed,
right,
there wouldn't be so much apathy.
Right.
But it's still sort of, Trump being Trump, he's kind of eccentric. This is what an outsider looks like.
That's a good point.
Nothing to fear.
That's a good point, Eric. You tweeted, Trump's trying to wreck the U.S. economy. What else explains this trade madness? I mean, it is hard. That's the thing, Eric. It is hard to engage in hyperbole when you go, we have a Russian asset in the Oval Office that is actively trying to destroy the United States from within. I mean, as you say, it doesn't get more urgent than that.
Yeah, and I don't know why he's doing this tariff stuff. There's not an economist in this country that understands why he's doing it. There's not a CEO in this country that understands why he's doing it. Over the weekend, he claimed he was going to essentially double the tariffs on China. These farmers who have worked decades to create these overseas markets, they're going to be absolutely cut off. He's trying to pay them off with this $12 billion bailout. That doesn't even begin to scratch the surface.
There is a straight line to almost every policy. It benefits Russia. I mean, I was reading about the Iran deal. It's like, guess who's selling more oil now? You know what I mean? At higher price? Russia. I mean, it's literally he is doing Putin's bidding. I mean, almost every policy is hurting, is splitting us from our allies, splitting us from our trade partners, isolating us, weakening us. And the fact that people, you and I are like hair on fire every day. But I mean, you talked about press briefings. You said press briefings are a den of lies where virtually no factual information is dispensed. I mean, this is what I mean about just us being fed a constant stream of lies, right? Whether it's about U.S. Steel is opening 6 plants, 7 plants, no 8, when, the number's 0.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, with Trump's incitement against the press yesterday, saying these are awful people, they're enemies of America, they can start wars, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And my point is, again, I don't understand how anyone, it's not going to happen this week. Trump's on vacation, but why would anyone show up at a press briefing? I understood, for a while, we're going to document the madness. It's important to have a record. There is literally no factual information delivered at that press briefing, and now Sarah Sanders is using it as a place to kind of do these scripted performance pieces, where she reads these grievances that they store up at the White House. There's absolutely no reason. And last week, a reporter raised his hand and said, we've only had 3 of these in a month. We have questions we want to get answered. Can we have more press briefings? And back to the basic issue, no reporter covering the White House gets any information at those press briefings. She either says, I don't know. She either says, I'm not going to get in front of the president. She either doesn't answer the question, or she reads these scripted pieces. They should have unplugged these, the press should have unplugged these briefings a year ago. Yeah. And now, with this incitement of violence, calling reporters the enemy of the people. I mean, Jim Acosta had, to his credit, had his moment last week where he pressed Sarah Sanders. She gave her answer. She agrees with Trump that the press is the enemy of the people. No one should ever show up again.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, who was it? Oh, Giuliani, that was talking about whatever last pack of lies about Trump, Russia, and he said, well, it wasn't some high tribunal of judges. This was to the New York Times. And I thought, where are we at a point where the press exists for politicians to talk to the people, right? Like, you're not just talking to the New York Times. Obviously, politicians talk to, right, news outlets to get their message out. So how are you pretending that doesn't matter if you lie to the press, right?
That's right. And he's also doing this charade about, Trump might still talk to Mueller. What's incredible, though, and what's so sad is when we think back to what happened in 2016. And last week, as Trump was completely unloading on the press, completely demonizing, trying to delegitimize, making these incredible personal attacks. I was remembering during the height of the general election, the White House Correspondents Association, while Trump was putting people in pens, reporters in metal pens, while he was attacking the press, they put out a statement saying both Trump and Hillary posed a grave threat to the free press.
Right. Both sides are the same.
Both sides are the same. Why?
Yeah.
And if you read the statement, Hillary hadn't answered hadn't answered press reporters' questions in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And
the good news is,
equated with Trump.
I think a lifetime of lying and fraud is going to catch up with him. I think if he thought, as I always say, if he thought Hillary was a bitch, wait till he meets karma. But because I think it's getting, Eric, you and I, we even joke about how much he lies, right? Whether it's at a rally.
Right.
Or to news organizations. But now it's gotten steps more serious, where when you lie to either, obviously, Congress, federal investigators like Mueller,
right,
when it gets into the State of the Union, using phony Justice Department statistics about terrorism. They just refuted, apparently, the UN report on how much poverty there is in America with phony numbers, right? I mean, now it's like the lying is becoming, I think even more serious, don't you?
Yeah, no, an early telltale was last year when not just Trump, the first couple months were like, oh my God, he's lying about everything. But then his administration and his cabinet officials during the health care, they wanted to repeal health care. We had senior level administration officials just lying about health care, just making stuff up, which we had never seen before. So that was an indication that this isn't just going to be Trump. You
Yeah.
know, we're all going to do it, and it's incredibly dangerous when you're talking about public policy, right? It's not just Trump trying to save his skin against Mueller. It's not just Trump lashing out against Hillary and the FBI.
Yeah.
They will lie about everything and anything, and it's going to be difficult to ever get back to any kind of normal.
Would you like this morning's gaslighting? This just in, Eric. Probably haven't had it just while we're speaking. This is this morning's panicky tweet. By the way, is he looking full on Nixon these days? He was very sweaty at that rally.
There was no air conditioning in the gymnasium.
Oh,
They said.
okay, sure. Uh-huh.
By the way, this one ends in a ... so there may be more
There
coming.
might be more, Eric, but for now, collusion with Russia was very real. Hillary Clinton and her team 100% colluded with the Russians, and so did Adam Schiff, who's on tape trying to collude with what he thought were Russians to obtain compromising material on DG10. We also know that Hillary Clinton... Right, there's a ... something. Okay, and then end the witch hunt. Wow. I mean, I just think even every lay person, Eric, goes, this is not how an innocent person behaves.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is like, tweet number 500 in terms of the witch hunt. What's interesting, is all of this is unfolding against a special election in Ohio tomorrow.
Yes.
Which is just an amazing race. This is a district.
Danny O'Connor. Go, go, go. Yeah.
This is a district. This is a virtually all-white district, gerrymandered within an inch of its life to be Republican for life. This is a district Republicans have held for 77 of the last 79 years, and it is a total toss-up. The Republican has lost a 10-point lead in the polls in the last 6 weeks. If you're looking for momentum or whatever,
Yep.
I mean, there is literally not a safe seat in this country for the Republican
Yep.
Party, and so we talk about apathy, but I think there's a lot of people who can't wait to get to the polls,
Yep.
even in the middle of Ohio.
Yep, absolutely. Eric, great stuff. Talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
All right, there he goes.